himpilan sa paghahatid ng serbisyo publiko at balita. Ito ang Radio Mindanao Networks. Higit 6 na dekada sa paglilingkod sa masang Pilipino. Sa Metro Manila, ito ang DZXL 558 Radyo Trabaho. Ang inyong gabay sa hanap buhay. Boss Rod Marcelino at Boss Ramcy Tirona sa Usapang Trabaho sa Radyo Trabaho ng DZXL 558. Trabaho lang! Walang personalan!
At dumako muna tayo ngayon sa Malacanang at nagaganap ngayon ang kanilang press con. Kasama natin sa Balita XL Radyo Man 4, Angel Ronquillo. Angel, magandang umaga.
Pakinggan natin itong sinasagawang press briefing dito sa Malacanang. Nagsasalita na ngayon si Health Secretary Francisco Duque III.
And all it has to do with the local situation that will be as of March 8, 2020, there are a total of 105,556 cases and this has spread to 101 countries. 53 of which have transmission unrelated to China. Over the weekend, we had 4 more confirmed cases, bringing the total number to 10, and I will count for 3 cases in the question portion of the upon confirmation of local, so I have said there are 10 different cases, 41 patients under investigation, PUI, currently active. Upon confirmation of local transmission, we are already in door 4 of our response.
So I have said there are 10 confirmed cases, 41 patients under investigations, PUIs, currently admitted. Upon confirmation of local transmission, we are already in door 4 of our response framework. Because we have anticipated the need to and thus have coordinated closely with the NDRRMC or the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, we had to align the code alert system we used to implement in all emergencies. This was agreed upon during the 6th Interagency Task Force. As such, Door 4 corresponds to Code Red. The main triggers for entering Door 4 is at least one documented case of localized transmission and will continue while there is a sustained human-to-human or community transmission. Moving from one local or localized transmission to sustained community transmission can happen very quickly, so both fall under the Code Red. I wish to make clarification on a few items. First, contact tracing is done proactively. It is our surveillance teams that will reach out to close contacts, defined as follows. Number 1, those providing direct care without proper personal protective equipment. Second, staying in the same close environment within the past 14 days. Third, traveling together in close proximity within 1 meter or less with a COVID-19 patient within a 14-day period. Let me clarify that all others who have visited places frequented by confirmed cases of COVID-19 are not required to seek medical consultation and subject themselves to COVID-19 laboratory testing. They are advised to self-monitor and if with symptoms, consult health center or rural health units for appropriate management and monitoring. Second, reminders for our level 2 and 3 hospitals. I wish to emphasize a few things for our healthcare providers. First, all levels 2 and 3 hospitals are reminded to not refuse patients suspected or diagnosed with COVID-19. Refusal to provide care to said patients shall be considered a violation of the signed performance commitment and shall be dealt with by PhilHealth accordingly. Further, we are recommending levels 2 and 3 hospitals to designate a triage area in their emergency rooms or OPD for screening suspected COVID-19 patients. Finally, all levels 2 and 3 hospitals are directed to attend to all patients suspected to have the COVID-19 and those confirmed COVID-19 with mild symptoms. Only confirmed COVID-19 patients that are severe and critical shall be referred to the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine or RITM, the San Lazaro Hospital, and Lung Center of the Philippines. We must always note as much as 80% of confirmed cases of COVID-19 are mild. And for the large part, the data that we're using here are those coming from China and as confirmed by the WHO. Also, from here on, the DOH will be disclosing hospital names after coordination with hospitals to combat unverified or fake news. We would like to take this opportunity to reassure the public that our hospitals have infection prevention and control practices in place, so there is no need to avoid going to these hospitals, especially if you feel unwell. For example, hospitals are already performing quarantine of their health workers, among others. Finally, to answer questions on suspension of work or school, we respect LGU's decision to proactively suspend classes. Our expert advisory group will meet this morning with DOH, the DOLE or Department of Labor and Employment, as well as the CSC or Civil Service Commission and DepEd, and issue recommendation that will be ratified in the Interagency Task Force at 5 p.m. this afternoon. So this will be all for now, and thank you very much.
Can we have Dr. Rabi? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Kalukuyan natin, kinaharap ang COVID-19. Ngunit tulad ng SARS, 17 taon nang nakalilipas, atin ring itong lalabanan.
Bawat isa ay malaki ang maitutulong sa pamamagitan ng regular na paghuhugas ng kamay, tamang paraan ng pag-ubo, pagpapanatili ng 1 metrong distansya sa mga may sintomas, at pagsusuot ng face mask kung ikaw ay may sakit.
Todo laban kontra COVID-19.
Can we have Dr. Rabi?
Thank you again and good morning. May I have the presentation, please? So I wish to give you an update on the global situation, and Secretary Duque has made my life a little easier. But just to highlight, can I have the next slide, please? Just to highlight, we have passed a very somber moment over the weekend. Not only did we pass the 100,000 cases that have been confirmed globally, but we also acknowledge now that more than 100 countries have confirmed COVID cases. These are significant milestones in the battle against coronavirus disease, and WHO reiterates that we can still control the spread of this disease and prevent it from becoming a global pandemic. Next slide, please. This slide shows to you the increasing trend of cases that we have seen globally since the 21st of January to date. And you will see that we are now seeing in the last week or so rapidly increasing curve towards the end of that, towards the right side of that graph. We are seeing not only increasing numbers of cases globally, but we are also seeing a steady increase in the number of deaths. Next slide. More closely, the next slide, please. On the next slide, we see the increase. Sorry, go back one, please. On this side, we are seeing the number of cases now being reported outside of China. And the numbers are predominantly now more than 90% of cases coming in the recent few days are outside of China, and so are the numbers of deaths being reported, highlighting again the fact that while the efforts in China have been successful in controlling the spread, we are seeing localized outbreaks affecting many other countries, especially the Republic of Korea, closer to the Philippines, but also Italy and in the Republic of Iran. Next slide. Based on the data from China, we still, and also from other data we are now seeing increasingly from other countries, we are seeing that about 81% of the cases are mild, 14% have severe symptoms, and about 5% are critical. Next slide. About the vast majority of the people who develop critical and severe disease or transition from severe to critical are elderly subjects who have coexisting medical conditions. This is important for us as we acknowledge that in the Philippines we are now having local transmission. I will speak to that a little later. Next slide. So I want to reiterate again the fact that this disease is largely transmitted through droplets. We are still have no evidence that this is transmitted by air. It is a disease largely limited to droplet and close contact. And this is why WHO continues to advocate for the practicing of hand hygiene, cough etiquette, and social distancing. Next slide, please. As countries transition from having just reporting cases among travelers to having situations where you're seeing localized transmission, the messaging needs to be very clear about the risk posed by this infection, the fact that a large majority are mild symptoms. And so while coming in the Philippines for determining localized transmission and proactively deciding to implement the fourth DO or Code Red, it also confirms the need for us to have a whole of government, whole of society approach. And given the nature of the disease, that this disease is largely a mild disease, we want to reiterate again the importance for people who are having respiratory signs and symptoms to practice social distancing. Do not go to work, do not go to school, do not go to crowded places if you're having signs of respiratory infection. This may largely not be COVID-19, but it is rational to follow the advice in view of the fact that we are having localized transmission, to practice social distancing and prevent even other respiratory infections being transmitted. If you have had contact with confirmed cases, and Secretary Duque, again, thank you for clearly explaining who we mean, close contacts, and you develop symptoms, you need to isolate yourself and you need to inform your local health authorities so that appropriate assessments and control measures can be implemented. Next slide, please. I'm not going to go into a lot of the details, but I just like to highlight that with localized transmission, the thrust of our activities will cover 5 areas. That's public health measures, improving clinical management, including infection prevention and control as described by Secretary Duque. We recognize the vulnerability of the elderly population in this scenario, and we encourage especially those groups to refrain from going to crowded places as much as possible, and to ensure that they protect themselves. For this we need a community-wide response. Family members need to support the elderly to protect them and minimize the risk of infection. The DOH has been doing an excellent job in strengthening its surveillance capacities and its risk assessments. We've seen the DOH teams with the relevant regional teams working almost 24/7, tracing contacts, identifying people at risk, and implementing recommendations to contain the spread of these localized transmission that we've seen over the last few days. It is important to recognize that appropriate risk communication is conducted, and we acknowledge here the support of the DOH and the Presidential Communication Unit in taking this message. And we are working together with the DOH also to strengthen its capacity to diagnose suspect cases who actually will need laboratory confirmation. I will not talk at length to all of the other technical slides that I have. I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Can we have Yusek Bengson, please?
Can you hear me? Good morning. Magandang umaga po. In light of the outbreak of COVID-19, the Department of Tourism is bracing itself to face yet another challenge. But prior to the recent declaration of a state of public health emergency, the DOT last week convened a special meeting of the Tourism Coordinating Council, or the TCC. The TCC is an institutional arrangement, a 25-agency body created under Tourism Act of 2009, and that particular meeting last week aimed to provide a platform for the members of the council and selected government agencies to share their initiatives on alleviating the impact of COVID-19 health crisis on tourism enterprises and workforce. So for this morning, I'd like to do a brief presentation on the interventions, the measures that the DOT has taken to mitigate the impact of COVID-19, as well as the recommendations coming from the members of the TCC. The DOT will therefore be focusing more on domestic tourism as we see a slowdown in the movement of our traditional source markets. The upside to it is that as we push for domestic tourism, we have secured the assistance or the support of our carriers such as Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, AirAsia, who have started rolling out discounted flights around the country. And all these promos culminated last week, where the three companies gave their biggest sale in recent history. To further propel domestic tourism, DOT-accredited hotels and resorts will be lowering their prices anywhere from 30% to 70% off the published and online rates in order to be more competitive with our neighboring Southeast Asian countries. Our accredited tour operators will also be giving up to 70% discounts on domestic tour packages. To strengthen public-private partnership initiative, the DOT will be allocating approximately 6 billion pesos that will span international and domestic promotions, infrastructure, and regional tourism development. From this budget, we will allocate approximately 85 million pesos for trainings for COVID-19 orientation, preparedness, response, and protocols for industry stakeholders. Our Manpower Development Office will tweak our Filipino brand of service to include points on how to handle guests for COVID-19 and response. This will include integration of DOH guidelines in all trainings to be conducted moving forward. The DOT has also cascaded the proper guidelines for our accommodation establishments on how to deal with guests in light of COVID-19. These protocols include the use of infrared thermometers to check one's temperature, screening guidelines, and provision of hand sanitizers. We will also be providing regular updates through a recently created website. It's called www.philippines.travel/safeph, which will serve as a splash page both to our corporate and marketing websites. On the part of the Tourism Coordinating Council, the TCC members and the partner agencies shared their ongoing initiatives and proposed interventions to help the tourism industry during this crisis. On the part of the DENR, it has committed to build destination resiliency by strengthening environmental protection programs in destinations and through the construction of STPs, particularly in Coron and Puerto Galera. On health and safety protocols, as mentioned, the DOT will work hand in hand with the DOH, the DILG, to craft a joint memorandum circular to establish protocols in reporting, security, and health measures in light of the crisis. On airline protocols, the Department of Foreign Affairs has been informing foreign service posts about the Philippines health protocols and other important information to assure tourists, governments, and partners abroad. The Department of Transportation, together with airport authorities, particularly CAAP and CAB, is implementing safety protocols in the airports, disinfection of airport lobbies and boarding bridges, and sanitation of the aircraft before landing in Philippine airports is also being strictly enforced. On employment, the tourism sector is responsible for 5.4 million jobs, or approximately 13% of the country's employment. COVID-19 poses a threat to some of these jobs, and the Department of Labor and Employment has provisions for emergency employment and livelihood assistance within its limited scope. On flights, given the reduction in international flights, the vacant airport slots are being offered by the DOTR to local carriers to increase domestic flights. There is also ongoing discussion with airlines for the proposal to reduce or waive landing and takeoff fees based on the letter of the Air Carriers Association of the Philippines to the agency. The Philippine Amusement Gaming Corporation, PAGCOR, also pledged during the TCC meeting to support and finance procurement of supplies that are necessary to the implementation of health protocols such as face masks and thermometers. We will also be meeting with the Department of Trade and Industry to address the supply constraints being encountered by the LGUs related to the procurement of masks and other necessary supplies. We will be conducting a study for possible adoption of measures implemented by other countries to provide relief to tourism businesses and workforce. These are the existing and proposed measures that the DOT, along with our partner agencies and private stakeholders, are taking. Rest assured that the department is exhausting all means to overcome the hurdles that this global crisis has thrown on us. We will leave no stone unturned to help the Filipinos rise against the challenge of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. Sec Menyes.
Thank you. Good morning, Sec Ananar, Sec Duque, Yusek Bengzon. Good morning, Dr. Rabi and the Malacanang Press Corps and the members of the Foreign Correspondents Association. Before I begin the PowerPoint presentation, I just want to reassure everyone that the Department of Foreign Affairs is closely monitoring the situation around the world, and we commit to report the accurate information regarding the situation of our Filipinos overseas, and we will act to protect and, when necessary, repatriate the said Filipinos. So, beginning with the events from last Monday, as all of you are aware, on the 7th of March, we had the repatriation of the 163 Filipinos who were stranded in Macau. And this was done through a special chartered flight. And all health protocols were observed, both in Macau and upon their arrival here in Manila. And as far as we are informed, none of them exhibited any symptoms, and therefore all of them are now undergoing home quarantine. We also, the next slide please, in the period since last Monday, the DFA has issued a number of advisories informing the Filipino public of the various travel restrictions imposed by other countries on travelers from the Philippines. On the 4th of March, the DFA issued an advisory on the temporary travel ban imposed by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on the Umrah visa holders and on tourist visa holders. It was also clarified that Filipinos who hold visas for employment, work visit, business visit, and family visit are still allowed entry into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we also provided the contact numbers of our posts in Saudi Arabia in case there are instances of problems arising from the travel restrictions. We also issued an advisory on the restrictions by the Kuwaiti government for imposing restrictions from travel from the Philippines for a period of 1 week. The said travel ban, as a result of that, we did receive reports and confirmed that a number of Filipinos who were en route to Kuwait were subsequently stranded in transit airports like in the United Arab Emirates and in Qatar. And our posts in those countries have also acted upon those particular issues, and a number of those Filipinos who were caught in those airports have already been repatriated. We have also released the information on these advisories as to how to contact the embassies in those countries. We also received information and released an advisory on travel to certain areas in Israel, because both the Palestinian Authority and the government of Israel restricted travel, the entry of all tourists into the West Bank, including Bethlehem and Jericho. And so, again, the information on what to do in case there are Filipinos affected by said restrictions are in the advisory. With countries around the world striving to address this current global health crisis through various precautionary measures, including travel restrictions and bans, the DFA advises the Filipino public here and abroad to remain vigilant and to be accurately informed by sourcing information from the official and legitimate authorities and verified sources. The next slide. On those countries that have categorically imposed travel bans, we also have information, as I mentioned, on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, on Kuwait, whose latest guidelines started from the 6th of March. We also have information that the Cook Islands has also restricted travel from certain COVID affected countries. And just late yesterday or early this morning, the government of Qatar has also imposed temporary travel restrictions on Doha-bound passengers who traveled from 14 identified countries, including the Philippines. And this covers all travelers who have been in those countries within the last 14 days. Again, all our foreign service posts are constantly reporting to the Home Office and also informing the public through their own web pages and social media platforms about the constantly changing requirements with regard to the COVID situation. The Grand Princess cruise ship. Again, as many of you who have been monitoring the news around the world, this is the latest cruise ship that has been held off the coast of California, San Francisco in particular, and we have already confirmed that there are Filipinos on board, and the latest information that we have is that there are 529 crew members and 9 Filipino passengers on board said ship. The U.S. government has announced that the ship will be allowed to dock in Oakland to allow the passengers to disembark. And from latest reports, it appears that the crew, after disembarkation of the passengers, the ship will again put out to sea, and the crew, as of latest report, will remain on board and will undergo a quarantine process, probably allowing them to place themselves in separate rooms and receive the appropriate treatment on board. The DFA, through our Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco, is closely monitoring the developments on this particular cruise, and as of this very moment, discussions are already being held as to how to address the situation and conditions regarding the Filipinos on board the ship. On the status of other Filipinos COVID positive abroad, as was mentioned by Secretary Duque and Dr. Rabi, the situation has now progressed to that now you have more new cases being reported in countries around the world outside of China. And given the situation of the Filipinos, both in the Philippines and abroad, we are of course now facing this problem on multiple fronts. So we are very focused here in the Philippines, under the guidance of the Department of Health and the entire government, on the Filipinos in the country. And in the same manner, we are expanding our efforts to cover the Filipinos who are found all over the world. So on this slide, you will see the latest information regarding the situation of the Filipinos in Hong Kong. As was reported, there are already 4 Filipinos who have been declared COVID positive. In Singapore, the figure remains at 3. In the UAE, the figure also remains at 2. In Japan, the 80 crew members who were left in Japanese health institutions, out of the 80, 40 have recovered, and 21 out of the 40 have already, in fact, returned to the Philippines. And the other 19 are progressing well as far as their health is concerned, and hopefully they will also soon be repatriated to the Philippines. We also received information that two Filipinos have also been identified in Lebanon. We also have information, and some of this I already mentioned previously, of several countries who have imposed travel restrictions on tourists, and this covers not only the Filipinos. As mentioned a while ago, the Palestinian Authority and the Israeli government have decided to restrict travels to the West Bank and Bethlehem and Israel. So we already advised all Filipinos considering travel on pilgrimage in particular to check with their travel agencies and act accordingly. We have already assisted a number of Filipinos who were caught in that area when the travel restrictions were announced. In Nepal, starting on the 7th of March, the visa on arrival facility for all tourists has been suspended, and all of you have access to several online apps that will show you the number of COVID positive persons within particular countries. For Nepal, this is so far 4. In Fiji, where there are currently no confirmed or suspected cases of COVID, all cruise ships entering Fijian waters will require to berth at certain ports, and all passengers on board are required to undergo medical and travel history checks. And in the Seychelles, all foreign workers who are presently abroad in countries which are COVID affected and were planning to return to the Seychelles are directed to postpone their return travel until further notice. We also have unconfirmed reports as of the moment that there have been COVID cases identified in the Maldives, and some resorts have been locked down. So we will be updating our information as developments arise. Thank you.
Okay, question. Jinky. Microphone, please.
Good morning po. Sa DOH, sir.
Okay, at yan po yung ating press con na nagaganap ngayon sa Malacanang. Balikan natin si XL Radyo 4, Angel Ronquillo. Angel?
Yes, Radyoman Ramcy, nagpapatuloy yung question and answer portion ng Laging Handa press briefing dito nga sa Palasyo ng Malacanang. Dito sa nangyaring press briefing, ginagarantiya ng ating pamahalaan na ginagawa nila ang lahat para nga naman hindi na kumalat itong COVID-19, lalo na sa mga oras ito ay nasa 10 na nga itong kumpirmadong COVID-19 cases dito nga sa Pilipinas, kung saan meron na rin tayong local transmission, kaya itinaas ang alerto sa code red alert, kung saan ang ganitong pamantayan, nagkakaroon ng ganitong pamantayan dahil nga meron ng at least one na local transmission, kaya inilagay sa code red ang ating status. Pinaalala naman ni Health Secretary Francisco Duque III sa mga ospital, especially sa level 2 and 3 hospital, na wag tatanggihan yung mga pasyente na positibo o carrier or person under investigation ng COVID-19, dahil kung sila ay tatanggi ay posible nga silang maharap sa violation. Magkaroon din ng designated na triage area at i-refer yung mga severe at critical cases. Ito yung mga positive na may COVID na kaso dyan sa RITM, San Lazaro Hospital at sa Lung Center of the Philippines. At kinakailangan din yung mga hospital na nag-aalaga o kung saan man dinala itong mga carrier ng COVID-19 ay kailangan i-disclose o ipaalam sa publiko kung saan sa mga ospital ito. So, sa mga oras na ito, nagpapatuloy yung question and answer portion. Radyoman Ramcy, mamaya magbabalik ako para sa iba pang karagdagan. So, yan muna ang pinakahuling balita dito nga sa Laging Handa press briefing sa Palasyo ng Malacanang. Kasama mo sa balita, Radyoman 4, Angel Ronquillo, Tatak Arimen, DZXL 558.
Maraming salamat, XL Radyoman 4, Angel Ronquillo. Magbabalik pa po ang ating programa. Oras natin, 11:45.
Boss Rod Marcelino at Boss Ramcy Tirona sa Usapang Trabaho sa Radyo Trabaho ng DZXL 558. Trabaho lang! Walang personalan!
This time check is brought to you by Doble Suave, Doble Sarap na Emperador Double Light. Drink responsibly.
24 hours of germ protection. Shield Bad Soap, Shield Bad Soap. 24 hours of germ protection. Shield Bad Soap, Shield Bad Soap.
Protektahan ang kalusugan ng pamilya. Mag-Shield Bath Soap regularly. Kills 99.9% ng germs at recommended pa ng Philippine Nurses Association.
Shield Bad Soap, Shield Bad Soap.
Shield. Galit sa sakit, may malasakit. Shield Bath Soap. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
Dumarami na ang guminhawa gamit ang Mighty C.
Ako po si Susana Bayodo. Ako po ay isang housewife. Umiinom ako ng Mighty C. Mula noon malakas ang resistensya ng ating katawan.
Kontrahin ang mga sakit. Vitamin C na alkaline base. Mighty C.
One day, isang araw, ay napansin ko, toothpaste na pinili ko sa fluoride, bitin ito!
Ang leading brand kasi, hindi lahat may maximum fluoride. Kaya, Mrs., mag-unique toothpaste. Lahat may maximum fluoride protection laban sa tooth decay.
That's why, kaya ngayon, unique ang toothpaste ko. Kahit anong kulay, maximum fluoride ito. Goodbye sa tooth decay. Unique toothpaste every day.
Unique toothpaste, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified, world-class quality.
ACS.
Cellphone Plus Gold.
Pa-check up ako sa doktor. May nakitang bukol sa abdo ko. Ooperahan daw ako. May nagsabi sa akin na itry ko daw yung Santon Plus Gold. 3 beses isang araw ako umiinom sa loob ng 2 buwan. Natunaw na ang bukol sa abdo ko.
Cellphone Plus Gold. Mas pinalakas, pinagaling, pinahusay. Nabibili sa mga butika.
Hindi matipid ang malaking bote ng ordinaryong dishwashing liquid. Kasi
malaking bote, daming buhos, daming kuskus sa oras pagod kay gastos.
Ang bote ng Joy matipid. Kasi
isang purong patak ng Joy, mabulang ang Joy, mabulang ang Joy. Joy, totoong matipid. Isang purong patak ng Joy, mabulang ang Joy, mabulang ang Joy. Joy, totoong matipid. Purong patak, isang katutak.
Joy, purong patak, bisang katutak.
Parami ng parami ang guminhawa sa Santon Plus Herbal Capsule.
Ako si Rialyn Nagbayani, isang utility girl. Matagal na akong umiinom ng Santon Plus Herbal Capsule. Natulungan maging normal ang monthly period ko. Wala na ang pananakit ng aking puson.
Mabibili sa mga suking butika.
Ikaw ba ay manggagawang Pilipino na naaksidente o nagkasakit ng dahil sa trabaho? Huwag kang mabahala. Ang Employees Compensation Commission o ECC ay handang umalalay at tumulong sa iyo. Para sa karagdagang kaalaman, tumawag sa 02-8899-4251 o mag-log on sa www.ecc.gov.ph. Sa ECC, ang manggagawang Pinoy ay protektado.
Employees Compensation Commission.
Nagpapasalamat po ako sa Diyos. Yung pakikinig ng nanay ko dito sa DZXL.
Trabaho ang hanap mo.
Nawalan po ako ng pag-asa noon eh. Hahanapan ka pala pag pumunta ka rito. Hahanapan ka ng trabaho po. Bali, license officers po, messenger po.
Dahil sa Radyo Trabaho ng DZXL 558 Manila, may mga nagkatrabaho na.
Nagpapasalamat po talaga ako ng malaki sa DZXL sa RMN. Well, maganda naman po yung pagkakatanggap nila sa akin.
Ang Radyo Trabaho ng DZXL 558 Manila.
Huwag silang mawala ng pag-asa. Pumunta lang po sila sa DZXL sa RMN. Apply lang po sila. Sigurado po, talagang hahanapan po sila ng trabaho. Hindi po sila pababayaan.
Kaya, kung trabaho ang hanap mo, makinig sa Radyo Trabaho ng DZXL 558. Baka ikaw na ang susunod na magkatrabaho.
DZXL
Radyo Trabaho.
DZXL
Ang inyong gabay sa hanap buhay. Basta tungkol sa trabaho, dito lang yan pag-uusapan sa Usapang Trabaho. Trabaho lang, walang personalan.
At balik tayo sa ating mga balita. Quezon City Government tukoy na ang barangay at pagkakakilanlan ng COVID-19 sa Quezon City. Kasama natin sa balita, XL Radyo Nuevo, DK Zarate. DK, magandang umaga.
Magandang umaga sa iyo, Radyo Ramcy. Natukoy na nga ng Quezon City Government na pagkakakilanlan ng isang biktima ng COVID-19 sa nabanggit na lungsod. Ito ay isang lalaki na nakatira sa bahagi ng District 1 ng Quezon City. Kasabay niyan ay pinapayuhan ni Quezon City Mayor Belmonte yung mga residente na mag-ingat kung maaari. Huwag nang pumunta sa mga matataong lugar. May distansya ng 1 meter sa mga kaharap na tao at takpan yung mata, ilong o bibig. Lahat ng pwede na huwag hahawakan kung kontaminado ang inyong kamay. Iniyak ng Quezon City government na ginagawa nila lahat para mapuksa at huwag nang kumalat ang nasabing sakit sa lungsod ng Quezon. Tama mo sa lungsod ng Quezon, Radyo Nuevo, DK Sarate Tatak Armen, DCSL 558.
Contract tracing sa mga nakasalamuha ng 4 na bagong biktima ng COVID-19 puspusang ginagawa ng DOH. Kasama mo sa balita, XL Radyo Mandos, Joyce Adra. Ating balikan ang report na yan ni XL Radyo Mandos, Joyce Adra. At paalala lang po namin sa lahat ng mga nakatutok, pwede nyo po kami mapanood ng live sa RMN DZXL 558 Manila na Facebook page. Ganon din po sa YouTube. Hanapin nyo lang po ang DZXL livestream. Mag-subscribe, mag-like, mag-share para mapanood ninyo at makita ninyo ang mga maiinit na balita na hatid ng ating palatuntunan. Ngayon naman to, dumako tayo dito sa isa pang report. Ilang medical at hygiene supplies pinapalibre sa buwis. Kasama mo sa balita, XL Radyo Man sa East, Conde Batak.
Ipinalilibre sa buwis ni Quezon City Representative Precious Hipolito Castelo ang face mask, sanitizers at iba pang kalintulan na produkto bunsod na rin ang pagdedeklara ng State of Public Health Emergency dahil sa banta ng COVID-19. Hiniling ni Hipolito Castelo na exempt sa pagbabayad ng import duties at local taxes sa mga nabanggit na medical supplies para makatulong sa publiko. Kung ililibre sa buwis ang face mask, sanitizers, alcohol, sabon at iba pang basic hygiene products, ay matitiyak ang sapat na supply ng mga ito, stable na presyo at may iwasan din ang hoarding sa panahon ng krisis. Bukod sa magiging abot kaya mga hygiene products at face masks, ay mapipigilan ang pananamantala ng ilang negosyante dahil sa pagbaha ng mga produkto sa merkado. Bagamat batid ni Hipolito Castelo na bahagyang makakabawas sa kita ng gobyerno ang pag-exempt o paglibre sa buwis ng health at hygiene products, ang kapalit naman anya nito ay kaligtasan ng publiko. Kasama mo sa Kamara, Radyo Man Sais, Conde Batak, Tatak Arm, and DZXL 558.
Contract tracing sa mga nakasalumuhan ng 4 na bagong biktima ng COVID-19 puspusang ginagawa ng DOH. Kasama mo sa balita XL Radyo Mandos, Joyce Adra. Joyce, good morning.
Nagpakalat na nga ng bagong surveillance sa team ng Department of Health kaugnay ng 4 na bagong kaso ng COVID-19 sa bansa. Kaugnay nito umapela si Health Secretary Francisco Duque III sa mga makakausap ng kanilang surveillance team na makiisa sa ginagawang investigasyon at contact tracing ng DOH. Muli na mga pinaalalahanan ng kalihim ang mga individual na nakakaranas ng sintomas ng COVID-19 at may history ng paglabas ng bansa o di kaya ay may exposure sa mga nagpositibo sa virus na makipag-ugnayan sa DOH. Binigyang diin ni Duque ang kahalagahan ng pansariling pamamaraan para makaiwas sa naturang sakit. Kasama sa Department of Health, Radyo Mandos, Choice Colyantes Adra, Tatak Armen, DZXL 530.
Sa iba namang balita, PNP Chief hindi na muna gagamit ng chopper sa pagbisita sa mga PNP regions. Kasama mo sa balita XL Radyo Man 7, Rhea Mamogay.
Itutuloy ni PNP Chief Police General Archie Francisco Gamboa ang kanyang mga nakaschedule na pagbisita sa mga police regional offices sa susunod na linggo. Pahayag ito ni Gamboa sa kanyang unang press conference dito sa Campo Crame matapos na makalabas ng ospital nang mangyari ang pagbagsak ng PNP chopper na kanyang sinasakyan sa San Pedro, Laguna nitong Huwebes. Ayon sa PNP Chief, by land muna siya babiyahe hanggat maaari habang grounded ang mga chopper bunsod ng insidente. Pero siniguro ni Gamboa na in due time ay gagamitin niya pa rin ang mga chopper para bumiyahe sa mga lalawigan. Matatanda nitong nakarang linggo na tungo sa Laguna si Chief PNP sakay ng Bell 429 helicopter ng PNP bilang bahagi ng command visit date ng PLO-4A nang mangyari ang aksidente. Kasama mo sa Campo Crame, Radyo Man 7, Rhea Mamogay, Tatak RMN, DZXL 558.
At maraming salamat sa inyong pagtutok sa ating programang Usapang Trabaho ngayong araw na ito. At tayo po'y magbabalik bukas alas 11 hanggang alas 12 ng tanghali. Ako pa rin po ang inyong Radyoman Ramcy Tirona. Susunod na po ang programang RMN News Nationwide. Kasama sina Radyoman Rod Marcelino at Radyoman Buddy Oberas. At dito sa Radyo Trabaho, abay walang personalan, trabaho lang.
Boss Rod Marcelino at Boss Ramcy Tirona sa Usapang Trabaho sa Radyo Trabaho